without further ado, can you guys all clap? Or this is how we clap on the virtual, right? Okay, or you thumbs up, all right? Okay, to Mr. Jonathan G. All right. The floor is yours. You're welcome.
All right, I've shared my presentation with everyone. And today I really want this to be a more down to earth style, 1 hour. So I would really appreciate if in the end we would all just, be more, it would be less like I'm talking or like I'm teaching or lecturing even. I'm pretty much the same age as you guys, just 1 or 2 years more. So if you have any questions, write it down and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. And so the presentation is going to be simple. I'm just going to speak from the bottom of my heart on my lessons throughout this entire process. And so the presentation is going to be simple and straightforward. I'm going to talk about me and the pillars of my life that I believe have allowed me to be the person who I am today, and also have had a huge contributing factor towards my college application. So you may already know, my name is Jonathan. I'm from Taiwan. I've been studying at TAS for the past 7 years, ever since middle school. And I'm going to Stanford University this coming fall. I plan to study something between the lines of computer science, engineering, economics, or math. Something, a combination of majors and minors between all of those. So one thing that I think is the core of my entire application, and really that this theme of STEM and humanity permeates my life. So maybe you've read in my short bio, but I am not just a STEM person or not just a humanities person, but I like both STEM and humanities, and I've done extensive academic research and extracurricular work in both of these areas. And I look towards both of these areas equally as tools for me in dealing with whatever problems I face. So I don't think that having this crossover is the only path to getting a good result in terms of college. But I do think that having a balance is strong. And I'll go more into balance later. But having STEM and humanities as a pillar is very important to me. And I'll reuse this word over and over again, pillar, because I think that's what these are, pillars that hold me up. So this is, as I mentioned, this isn't for everyone. I have a friend who's all into STEM, and he did a lot of STEM. He did everything. He did science fair, Olympiads, math Olympiads, physics Olympiads. He did physics research, chemistry experiments, and all of those. And he got a fantastic result in the end. So I think what's important that I've learned is to be truthful to who you are. And there isn't a one size fits all kind of solution throughout the process. And this kind of theme about STEM and humanities starts since I was in elementary school. It starts since I was a kid. The first way that humanities has gone through my life was through violin. I actually started playing the violin even before first grade. I started because of the typical Asian parent story, you gotta learn music from a young age. I know it's a cliche, and many people think, that might not be such a great kind of way to be introduced to a hobby. But 12 years later, and I'm immensely grateful that my parents in the beginning, took me to that violin lesson and really had me start playing. And the reason for that is because violin has brought immense joy to my life. It has brought me great insights, and I can always find solace in myself after a long day playing the violin. So, but starting from a young age, I started playing the violin, and I started to go into competitions. And through small competitions, I started to build my confidence, build my skill. And eventually by 6th grade, I was concertmaster in our entire school's elementary school orchestra. Continuing that into middle school, I was also concertmaster of our middle school orchestra, and I continued to do competitions. And this time I moved on to international tests, international competitions, and also did summer international exchange programs in between. Now, on to high school, I continued playing the violin, and I continued to, conventionally speaking, do well. I was concertmaster in our school's entire orchestra, and I continued to do well and test as well as international competitions. But you might ask, if violin is a very practice-intensive extracurricular hobby, it is something that requires immense muscle memory. Being able to press notes in tune is something that requires constant practice and maintenance. If I'm spending that much time in violin, how do I have time for my schoolwork, preparing for tests, for projects? And the answer is I don't. What I've learned is that continuity is really key. Since I started violin in the elementary school stages, I have built a strong foundation. This foundation has enabled me to, while I spend less time in middle school and high school practicing, if I persist and just put in a few minutes each day, each week, a few hours each week, and I persist through that, I ensure that I will be able to continue on this good foundation that I've laid for myself. Even though I don't spend much time anymore throughout my high school journey, I was still able to perform well because I persisted and told myself and had the self-discipline to say, I'm going to practice each week. And, no matter even if it's just a little, or, maybe I have more time, but what matters is persistence. The other pillar that I developed since my early childhood was robotics. And robotics, I also started from the very basics that all of you probably have as well, which is Lego. And then once I got done in a way with Legos, although I don't think you can ever get done with Legos because they're that good, I started moving towards soccer robotics and rescue robotics, a competition I did that really helped me build a lot in my confidence in myself in terms of my ability, but also my technical acumen is during 5th grade when I competed in an international competition called RoboCup Junior, and I competed in the soccer robot category. I was very lucky that year because as lead programmer of a team, I developed a new way of computing the movement for our soccer robots. I utilized trigonometry in 5th grade, while normally people wouldn't learn that until later. And that really helped our team gain a competitive edge that year in winning. So I competed in elementary school and I continued through middle school. And I did something called VEX. Now, if you're in the US, this might be more familiar to you because VEX is really something that's really popular in the United States. And throughout high school, I did FRC, which stands for First Robotics Competitions. This is also something that's very, very popular in the United States, although it's gaining a lot of traction internationally as well. And so I did robotics throughout this entire period. And the same thing is continuity and really sticking through and making sure that you're doing something continuously. And while I know that most of you are already, in your high school stages, I think that you can still look back and see, what was something I did in elementary school? What was something I did in middle school that maybe I left away, or something that I can pick back up? I think something that's very valuable in terms of these long-term hobbies in a admissions perspective, is that it's more genuine, and that you have much more stories and insights you can share about them compared to maybe something that you develop starting in high school. Of course, that's not the case, but this kind of insight can really help you during your essays and other parts of your application. And I believe, and I will go more into essays later, but I believe that essays are one of the most, if not the most important aspect of your entire college application. So then now moving towards middle school, my middle school story, I developed entrepreneurship in middle school. And it's kind of a funny story. In middle school, by that time, I had no idea what entrepreneurship was, what business was. I was set at that time, my plan was get good at math, get good at computer science, and become an engineer and study that when I go to college and in my life after that. That was my plan. And so when my friend asked me, hey, do you want to join this business competition? We're lacking a team member. I was very hesitant, because it had nothing to do with what my plans were. But because I thought, hey, it's just a weekend, why not? And that why not is perhaps one of the most important why nots I'll ever have in my life. Because not only did it introduce me to entrepreneurship, which opened a lot of doors in my life, but it also gave me a very important life perspective on keeping your mind open and not being stubborn in what you have determined for yourself. So that business competition I entered on a whim was called Nova. And we did really poorly in that competition. We thought of an idea to reuse and recycle old computers from our school and donate those computers to underprivileged communities in Taiwan. I still think it's a great idea, but I just think we didn't have enough skill back then to execute it well. But even though our results weren't great, that weekend gave me a lot of insight into what I wanted to do as a person. And eventually that weekend, that single why not I asked myself led to me founding my own nonprofit in high school and helped me develop a passion that I hold very deeply. On a more practical sense, that why not is perhaps the most important question I asked that helped me do well in the college admission cycle, because entrepreneurship, as I will go into later more deeply, is perhaps one of the brightest part of my application when you look at it as a whole. And I continued entrepreneurship from middle school to high school by continuing and starting my own nonprofit. I'll talk more about that later because that deserves its own slide of time. So moving towards high school. In high school, I discovered another pillar, which was economics. Now, I learned about economics very, very, very late, in 11th grade. And for many people, 11th grade is way too late to start something new, to add something new to your resume. Because by 11th grade, most people will say, hey, you're supposed to have started your essays. You're supposed to have started thinking about your resume, your college application. But, I joined AP Economics because it would work well towards, fulfilling graduation credits at school. But later, as I moved on in the year, I realized, wow, I really like economics. I really liked all the insight it gave me in terms of looking at our world in a different way and understanding the world around me, the daily transaction versus the macroeconomic situations that are happening around us in a much more detailed way. And I really liked how that empowered me. So I studied a lot for economics, and I wanted to do more than just ace the AP economics test. So I went online and found several competitions. You may have seen from the flyer, but I got bronze in the International Economics Olympiad. I think that this prize, although I don't know for sure, I think that this prize had a big impact on my credibility as studying towards an economics major, but also towards my college application as a whole. Speaking from experience in general, many of my friends or my peers who graduated before, who have competed and done well in Olympiads, international Olympiads, whether that be math, physics, chemistry, biology, economics, they typically would go on to do well in their college admission cycle. However, I do say that I've seen much more cases where people didn't have any of these awards that but still did well. So again, it's a different direction for everyone. So there's really no one size fit all solution. I also found a connection in economics with my business side of things, my entrepreneurship pillar. And that was through a business competition that I did, which was called the Taiwanese Presidential Hackathon. And in that hackathon, I combined what I've learned in economics with principles from my experience in entrepreneurship. So what I did in the hackathon was me and my team thought of a way to rearrange ambulance and police cars routes using real-time and historical data. So this project was quite immense because it required the cooperation of Taiwanese transport ministry officials, hospitals, ambulance, fire departments, and police departments. And it really pulled in different pillars of my life. It pulled in economics, it pulled in computer science, and it pulled in entrepreneurship. And going a little back onto my experience in the International Economics Olympiad, I wanted to just share a little more now that I think about it, because some of you may also be interested in economics as well. If you have the chance and you're interested, I would highly recommend participating in the International Economics Olympiad, because it really is much more than just an economics test. There's 3 parts to the competition. There's a multiple choice, which tests your fundamentals, a free response, and a business case part. For the free response, what really shocked me through my preparation and the final competition as well was how much it pulled from more than economics. I still remember deeply a question that required me to implement marginal analysis on local COVID transmission cases, but the way you had to determine to answer the question quantitatively was using college level calculus and using that level of math to analyze the question. This showed me how even something as direct as an economics Olympiad really pulls your expertise from many different areas. In this case, it pulled from my experience in math. Another pillar, and I promise you this is the last one that I found in high school, was debate. Debate has not always been my favorite thing to do. I was quite a shy public speaker in middle school and elementary school. But in high school, I decided to challenge myself. I decided to participate in the speech and debate competitions. And so I started doing weekly drills as well as, speaking drills. The classic, put a pen in your mouth and then try to speak, enunciate, speaking fast, speaking slow, speaking backwards. And I did all of that. And eventually I got pretty good at it, and I got outstanding speaker award as well as first place extemp speaker, as well as second place in policy debate. So debate has also helped me way outside of just debate competitions alone, because debate has helped me become a more confident and become a better analytical speaker and thinker as well. And as well as it gave me the ability to think on my feet. As part of my entrepreneurship journey, I had to do many business competitions. And typically in business competitions, you have to present and go through a series of judges who ask you very cutting edge questions that dig deep into whether you've thought about the entire case properly. My experience in debate really pulled through in helping me not seem awkward, not stand around and think for a long time and being unable to come up with the right words when responding to these judges' questions. So debate really has helped me in outsized ways outside of debate. So you may be looking at all of what I've told you so far and noticing a theme in my story, which is that there's a lot of connections. My entrepreneurship pulls from my debate. My debate pulls from my knowledge in economics. My knowledge in economics and experience pulls from my computer science. And my next pillar is public service, and specifically my nonprofit, which is RoboEd Arena, because this has been the extracurricular that I spent the most time probably in high school. So RoboEd Arena is a nonprofit that is dedicated to providing equal opportunities to underprivileged kids for a robotics education. I came up with this idea actually from the failed business proposal at that middle school business case competition I talked about before. And so it really shows how even if something fails, you can take it and make it into something different, make it into something better. So throughout my nonprofit journey, I started by myself with two of my friends. And we started small. We started just by teaching children at the local church on Sundays. And after that, we slowly built our network. We started to get to know local school teachers and eventually local school principals. And we used this network that we slowly built one by one and started to get local schools who didn't have as much resource as our school, and the schools eventually agreed to let us teach their students on weekdays and weekends. And even more important than teaching is leaving a lasting impact. So my team and I also worked with these schools to develop a sustainable robotics education program that would exist even without our help, that even without outside resources. In the process of working on my nonprofit, I pulled from my experience in speech and debate. Because as I said, our MO with this nonprofit is education. And in the beginning, I had to get down on the classroom floor and teach by myself without the help of others. And it was tough at first, but I pulled from my experience in speech and debate, which helped me explain things clearly and succinctly to the classmates who were in elementary and middle school. And it also pulled from my experience in music, surprisingly. Our nonprofit faced a rough patch where we were very lacking in sponsorship and funds after our initial grant from a competition, nonprofit competition we ran out. So I had the idea of combining what I had in music, my hobby in music, and making a charity concert, which helped fund my my nonprofit and also other nonprofits as well. So it really shows how you can really pull from here, pull from there, make a connection in your life. I think this is really valuable in terms of a college admissions perspective, but also just for your life in general, because making connections with yourselves, with others, and within yourself, that's what really matters, and that's what will give you new insights. So I guess from my story, what you can learn is to connect the dots, stay true to yourself. There is no one size fit all formula to having a good result, and to be open to changes, because you don't know where you will find passion, and you don't know which competition will be life-changing. It may not be, but there's a possibility. And I think it's really valuable to be open to those kind of changes. Now, I want to go a little deeper into and a little more specific into college admissions. So onto your applications, I think the most important aspect is a story. So no matter how much work or how much research you've done into college apps so far, there is, to give you a brief overview, there is a section where you put in your info, such as, your high school, your test scores, your GPA, all of that, your data. And then there is a part where you put in your essays. And throughout all of this, you need a coherent story. It is more often than not good to have something where I do a little bit of here, from here, I do a little bit of that. Having a theme that permeates the entire application is really valuable. And that goes from all the way from what classes you choose, how well you do in those classes, what IB exams, what SAT subject tests you take, all the way to what are your hobbies outside of school, what clubs do you do at school. And then in the end, the way you show this story about you is through the essay. And as I mentioned, I believe the essay is one of the most important aspects. And I believe that for good reason, because the essay is really one of the only ways that this college admissions person who doesn't know you at all can get even a glimpse of who you truly are. As many colleges say, they're not trying to find a machine. They're not trying to find people with the perfect test score, with the perfect GPA, but they're trying to find stories that match with their own. And that's where I think essays can really show that. So just to give a quick recap and going through all of my pillars, my story was kind of like this. I'm very big into entrepreneurship, and specifically service entrepreneurship, social impact entrepreneurship. And that was most visible through nonprofit I started and eventually grew to be something that operated in many different countries. And from that central pillar of being someone who's entrepreneurial and being someone who's open to change, open to ideas, open to risk, I pulled out and say, I connected that to economics. I connected that to debate. I connected that to violin. And in your essays, you want to show this type of connection, but not explicitly. You want to show by giving stories, by giving insights you learned. And that's where, coming back to what I said in the very beginning, that something you started working on since you were very small matters a lot, because the longer you've worked on it, the deeper your insights, the more unique things you'll be able to say in the college admission essays. And that's pretty much my story that I wanted to share with you today, and the lessons that I want to learn. And now I'm just free for any questions that anyone may have.
All right, thank you so much, Jonathan. Can you unshare the screen? All right. Awesome. And thank you. I mean, very impressive, isn't it? Yes. Can we give him a heart or the thumbs up? Right. Okay. Serena, can you spotlight me? Thank you. Yeah. Oh, did we have somebody want to share a couple words? All right. So before you guys are still thinking what's the questions, I know some of you already have some question, already has it. I am very watching Jonathan. I thank you, Jonathan. You are definitely, let me reflect myself too, right? Definitely it doesn't build overnight, but I thank you for really share from the beginning to now. I know your future is going to be incredible bright. This is just a very, very beginning for you, and for me, when I hear your story, I really love the humbleness, and choose for yourself. And two things, what I see through this journey, when I met Jonathan, I mean, seriously, he is so open-minded, out the box too. he don't limit himself. And he is the student who actually take initiative all the time, asking coach the resource, the information. And as you can hear, he actually reach out to his friends or his parents, resource, anybody who actually can give it to him, but then at the same time himself digest and then really, blossom just from there, So we see there is a one question here. I don't know, Carl, you want to come up to share? Ask him, or you want me to read it, Carl?
Hey, Ting, I'm actually on the road, but I don't mind asking if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you. Mm-hmm.
I just want to let you know that I'm very impressed how well you articulate. You're very well spoken. I find that whether you're young or old, if you dedicate the time like you've demonstrated and explained to us, that anyone can accomplish great things. What I like to know personally is what drives you. I actually coached many of students over the last decade, and everything that you say is what we always encourage our kids that we coach. But I find that there's always something internally that sets many students apart, and a lot of times it comes down to drive. And so what I like to hear, what I like to know from you, and maybe you can elaborate with the other students here, is how does one get to that level of thinking that you have, right? There's something internally that must drive you, or there's something that you see in the future that you want to accomplish. So maybe if you could elaborate for those students that are here, because I listen to what you say. I'm certain that it's not all easy. So I'm certain there are times that you may have wanted to give up or try something else. What made you stay the course and continue to add on to all the things that you're already currently doing?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. That's something that I think about a lot as well, because ever since I was very small, maybe you would have picked that up from my story, was that even in elementary school, I liked to compete, and whatever I did, in whether it was a hobby or something in school, I really liked to enter into competitions. I at least I think that I myself and not a kind of person who likes toxic competition, but I've always liked to see where I'm at compared to other people. And so my desire, or I'm not phrasing this well. Let me begin again. So we have this side of competitiveness from me, but I think as I grow older, it becomes much more complex, because competing in everything, I think, would not result in a very healthy mindset, because no one can win at everything. There's something that you're good at and other things that you may need to learn from others. But what I've learned and seen the transition in me is, as cliche as it may sound, eventually I started looking to competing with myself. I looked to my performance this year for example, in my violin. In 5th grade, I played the Mendelssohn Concerto, and I looked at that in 7th grade and think, how can I win against myself? How can I make sure that I'm moving forward? But beyond this topic of competition, I think really what drives me is that I'm working on the things that I truly like. If many people say that if you're working on something you like, it's not work. And I really believe in that, because there are subjects that I do not enjoy that much, and I would not work as hard on them. And I guess it's a combination of being competitive with others and myself, and also truly liking the things that I'm spending my time on. And I think that's important, because truth be told, I see a lot of my friends who've spent a lot of time doing certain things, certain competitions. I myself fall prey to this sometimes. We do take certain classes, do certain extracurriculars, just because that's what other people have been doing. That's what other people who have done well in the college admission cycle have done. And I think that learning from my own mistakes in doing that has helped me be more focused on the things that I really care about. So I say that's about what drives me, doing what I love and focusing on competing with myself.
I think that's incredible. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody within your life, or maybe somebody, right? It could be more than one person that has helped you through this journey, preparing academically, understanding that it's more than just doing the things that people think is good on admission, but doing what you enjoy and love? Have you had someone that influenced your life, or maybe somebody, right, more than one person that you can elaborate on? Like, is there a figure, someone in your life that you look to or always look to seek guidance?
I see. Well, I'd like to share a fairly personal story. So when I was small, I got to know briefly my great grandpa before he passed away. Now it's my great grandpa. So when I was really small, he was already fairly old. But one of the stories that my grandpa and my dad would always and my grandma would always tell me about him was how. Now, to give you a little context on the story, I grew up fairly privileged in many ways, but that was not true for my great grandfather. When he was around 20, his parents passed away, and he had siblings after him, and he quit and he started working. He did all kinds of jobs, construction. He did he worked in restaurants, all kinds of jobs, and eventually he never gave up, and eventually he established his own footing. He found his way and begun to do well in life. Now, this is quite a personal story, so I won't go into too much detail, but really hearing that story when I was small gave me left me a huge impact. And it taught me that not only it taught me several lessons. One of them was that you should never give up. And that's one of those cliched lessons, but it's also one of the most important, because wherever you are in life, I think there will always be some point where there are rough patches. And I think for me, when going through those rough patches, I thought back to my great grandfather and how he, stood against the tests that life brought onto him, which made me and gave me the life that I have today. But also, and this kind of reflects towards my passion towards social impact entrepreneurship, was that it taught me to be very grateful of the world that we enjoy, and to give back to our community, to give back to the people who have given to us. And I guess that's that's someone who has had a very big impact on me, even though I didn't get to know him very well.
All right, awesome. Carl, are you still there?
Yeah, I appreciate again you for spending your morning or evening with us. I don't know if anyone else has questions, but I always enjoy talking with students that are excelling. Last question, if I may, if there's something that you could share with all the students here, what would be one thing that you could give them to help increase, or if anything, elevate themselves academically?
Oh, academic success. For me, academic success has been pretty straightforward. I didn't always do the best at school, but I found the more I went towards the basics, which was to pay attention in class, do my homework, and and study for a test. I mean, it's easier said than done, definitely. But I mean, for me, sticking towards those basics just made the academic part much easier.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Carl. I know you're driving, but you're still, jumping and want to be part of it. Thank you for it. And then, Jonathan, I really love what you say. I know it sounds cliche, it sounds, but seriously, I love that. Competing yourself, right? Competing myself and also doing what I love, and that's obviously even a lot of adults for many years, they still cannot find what they love to do, and that's why it's sad, that's why they don't have a passion about it. But from your conversation, it's so profound. I mean, just it's so right out there, All right, and I know Serena, you have question too. I don't know. Did Eric did not have a question? Okay, or Boeing? I know you two already opened the camera. I want you to have the first chance too. Boeing, do you have any question? Or Eric, do you want to make some comments?
Yes, yeah, I did. I just sent Jonathan a private chat. So yeah, I'm a 11th grade student. So I'm very interested how you schedule all those projects in such time, because as a high school, I don't really have like much time on those. And like I'm also interested. Have you like ever take a little break for yourself? Like maybe yeah, I know. It's like
Definitely.
it seems like always working, like endless. I just wonder
Yeah.
because I don't think a human being can be like working always like that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely, working all the time is not good, no matter if you like it or not. But all of these things, they seem to, at least when you present them all at once. If you see it on paper, it seems like a lot. It seems like, how do you have the time to do this? But in reality, it's really just building blocks, building little by little, spending 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And these really little chunks of time, they build up, and this is a tip that I found when I was quite young, that there's a lot of time in our life where we can find these little chunks of time, such as when you're commuting, during break, recess. It doesn't have to be long, but the little things really build up. And as for working all the time, I have burnt out many times, and that helped me realize that self-care is really important. Something I do every day is I meditate every day before bed, and I found that has helped me a lot. And that has helped me in terms of being clear with myself and pacing myself through the day and just reflecting back on it and making sure that no matter how busy, how hectic, how bad this previous day was, the meditation is kind of like hitting a reset button, where the next day is a new day, a new start, a new chance to have a great day for me. And I guess with those are really the tips that I used.
Can I add? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I'm just thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very
Well,
great bit. tips. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Bowen, thank you. That's awesome. Great question. And Johnson, I'm thinking, do you play games, Johnson?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when do you have time to play games? I mean, I know a lot of students complain to me all the time, like, oh, I don't have time. If I do this, I don't have that, right? So, but how did you meditate? You do so much project. You academically, it's how did you balance all this? So cool. Mhm.
I think keeping schedule is quite important. I think
Mhm.
knowing, information really empowers you. Knowing where you spend your time each day, whether it's something like studying or just spacing out or playing games,
Mhm.
I think knowing where your time is spent will help you make good changes to your life. It will help you shape your life the way you want to live it. And that was something that a mentor taught me when I was in eighth grade. And that has really helped me keep good pace throughout high school and do a lot of things at once.
Awesome. That's right. Yep. So it's not you don't have time, to do all you want. Is how to really time management and scheduling in it right? Okay, awesome. All right. We have maybe a couple more questions, but I think Miss Isabel actually raised the hand. Is that right, Miss Isabel?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn off the camera because I'm gonna be driving. So, but I can ask a question. So are you enrolled in the HIFA program, and how did the coach help you to? I guess if you are and it helped you, maybe it helped you to put everything together, your presentation and everything. But I'm wondering if you are enrolled in the HIFA, and how did the coach help you?
Oh, that's a great question. The coaches helped me in a lot of ways. I started working with them in around, like, if I remember correctly, 9th or 10th grade. And so since that's a little earlier in high school, I was just discussing with them in a more long-term, with a more long-term focus, in 3-4 year plan on what are my hobbies, what are my interests, and what are some things I can do to further those interests, for myself and also for the college application. And when 11th grade came and 12th grade approached, I worked with them more towards writing essays and also looking holistically at my application and determining what was lacking. And from that, discussing what can I still do to, I guess, make up in a way to make up for what's lacking per se in the application.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. One thing, that's why I say Jonathan is a very self-autonomy, the motivate. He reach out, he really think through, he really, himself it's a go-getter too, right? I always say it's the model child, but again, he has a frustrated time, absolutely too. But then he overcome his frustrating by finding the solution, not just sitting there and wondering. I still remember last year, October, when I was in Taiwan and I was rocking in the back, right, in the quarantine, and then, he was the last, that is our last batch of the essay things, and then he still, until last minute, he don't give up. He feel like he still can do better. Does that make sense? So that's the spirit. I mean, I personally learned a lot from him. I share a lot of Johnson's story. I feel like he has a very old soul. If you don't look at his face, I think he is 50 years old. I mean, such a incredible. I know his parents contribute a lot. If I have a chance, invite his parents and another time to come to share with our parents how to really grow together with the kids like this. Since little, I really maybe we can do so. But anyway, a couple more. Kim, is that Kim Lin? Kim
Yeah.
Liang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. So I just wanted to say thank you, first of all. That was a really great presentation. And you have some really great insights. But my question is just, was there anything about Stanford in particular, like any programs or any like characteristics of the school that drew you to apply and eventually to commit?
I see. Well, that's a great question. When I was during the summer from 10th to 11th grade, I did a program at Stanford called SPCS. It stands for Stanford Pre-Collegiate Studies. Now, the program so in terms of these summer programs, there's typically two routes. There's the first round is a more fun route. It's less academically rigorous. It's more like a typical summer camp where you have fun and games and maybe a few lessons here and there focused on whatever you're interested in. And there's the second round where you go to summer classes at colleges, and these are 4-credit classes, meaning that you are in a real, in whatever university, let's just say Stanford, for example, you're in a real Stanford class learning from an actual Stanford professor with students who are current Stanford students. So, and it's not just Stanford that has this. Most universities have these types of programs. So SPCS, which was the program that I did from 10th to 11th grade this summer, was the first kind. So it's a more fun-based, I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends. The class I took was called AI for Robotics. And that allowed me, so this was before the pandemic, so that allowed me to go on campus, spend 3 weeks living there in a dorm, in a Stanford dorm, going to Stanford's halls and interacting with other Stanford students. Even though the instructor wasn't a Stanford professor, I still got the chance, professors, just walking around the campus and looking at different departments and research. And, by chance, I got pretty lucky. I was able to have conversations with a professor who was teaching computer science. But that experience helped me. So I had visited a couple other universities, but that experience of living there helped me determine and know that this is where I want to spend 4 years of my college experience in. In addition to that, Stanford's general culture really fits well with what I like and what I want to do. First, there's the entrepreneurial aspect.
Okay, maybe internet has.
But I'll continue. Well, for me, Stanford was a great match because there's the entrepreneurial aspect, right? Stanford has this reputation of being very startup entrepreneurship friendly, or it really encourages that kind of spirit because of its close proximity to Silicon Valley. So that really resonated well with me. But also Stanford has is a leading research institution in a lot of topics that I'm interested in, such as computer science and engineering. So it's really down to a matter of what you like and what kind of vibe you're comfortable in. So I think that's why hopefully you'll all get a chance to do this once the pandemic ends. But I think it's really important to not even for live there, but just to visit it once or twice to get a feel of whatever college you're thinking about, because that summer session helped me be really sure that this is where I wanted to go. And that's why I decided to apply REA, Restrictive Early Action, to Stanford.
That's right. All right. Okay. I know people just started to warm up, Jonathan. So people are raising their hand and question now. So, but okay, we only can restrict 3 now. So we have Eric and Ayana raise the hand, and also Serena. So maybe the wrap up with the question from there. Serena actually is the first one, right? The chat. So sorry. It's okay. Also, I will save you on the last. Okay. So this 3, and it's already 11 a.m. or p.m. I know it's late. If you need to leave, we understand, you know. But okay, so we have Eric. Can you go ahead to come up, Eric? Thank you.
All right. So I was really impressed about your your self-motivation, and I think this question was already answered. But I just wanted to ask, what really gave you the energy or determination to like this self-motivation? Because I don't think I've seen a person as self-motivated as you. I just want to know who or what gave you this determination or self-motivation.
Yeah. Well, part of your question will be answered from, you know, the answer I gave a couple questions back about competitiveness, about, you know, liking what you do. But I'll add a little more to your question. I think that being materialistic in a sense is being practical. You know, we often say, you know, we like to say that, well, I guess I'll approach this a different way. It's good to have goals. And once you have those goals, it's important to understand what you need to achieve these goals. So for me, the goal was that I wanted to attend a university that was selective, right? So then I understood that in order for that to happen, for me to have a good chance, I needed to have a good performance in school, as well as a complete resume and with items that are diverse and pretty unique outside of school. Now, obviously, that's not the only reason I do these things, right? I think an important distinction probably, even though I'm talking about goals, is somehow contradictorily to not be goal-oriented. I think maybe that's a deep question. So I'll go out on a limb and say this. Sometimes for me at least, if I don't focus on the goal, I keep that in mind. But if I know that I'm not only doing this for the goal, but I'm also doing it for myself, that helps me work towards my goal in a way. Could you perhaps relate to that? Like, I feel that if the only reason I worked hard in school was because of college, I wouldn't have done well. So that perhaps is the answer. To have a goal, but to not only live for that goal. That's my answer.
Yep. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, love that. Have the goal, but not live for that goal only. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Eric. Okay. All right, Anya Chang.
I just wanted to ask you what support did you get from your school?
Okay, well, I go to Taipei American School. I mentioned that in the beginning. So the support I got, well, our school has college counselors, as most school does. So that, though, my counselor really helped me a lot in regards to the final stages of the application between 11th and 12th grade, in regards to filling out the application, college research, providing me with experience, insights, as well as helping me go through my essays, talking about broadly the direction of my essays, as well as going into more specifics about the content, including the writing style, grammar, wording, specific structure, how do I want to present things, all of that. But outside of college counseling, I'd say one of the biggest resources at school are teachers. And teachers are there not just for class, because I wished I had discovered this sooner, but in 11th grade, I started to go visit teachers because the workload was, there were more and more concepts that I was struggling with. And so I started visiting teachers during break times, during lunch times. And that helped me develop a much better relationship with many teachers, but it also helped me learn a lot about more than just the topics in class, because these teachers have gone through what we've gone through, whether it be, the stage of life or just the college application. So if you take the time and go visit them and get to know them, maybe they'll give you insights that will help you throughout this process as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, awesome. Hey, Anya, who actually invited you there?
My mom.
Awesome. Who is the mom?
Her name is Jiling.
Jiling. Okay. All right. Oh, Jiling. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Last question. I know a lot of you need to go to sleep, or you need to, do something different. So I love, Johnson, one thing again, resource, leveraging your resource and really know how to get it from, and like you say, it takes a whole village to raise a child. Okay. And Jonathan, definitely, he not only feeling privileged, but he know how to leverage in this resource and then really strike for the best. Make sense? So from the schools,
another point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I just thought about this, that I really wanted to share about talking with teachers, is that recommendation letters, these are extremely important, and a great way you can build a good relationship with teachers who will write your recommendations is to visit them and spend time with them outside of class time, because teachers spend the same time with every student, right, in class. How do you get a teacher to write something about you that they cannot write about another student? You spend time with them, you get to know them, you share about your hobbies, and you ask for their input. And you don't spend time with the teachers with this kind of goal in mind, but this is but I've gained a lot from talking with the teachers, and it's just a benefit that I realized after the fact. That's just something I just remembered that I wanted to share.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Absolutely. Different, everybody write the same recommendation. What will you be different, right? I understand, among all the students, right? So, and I know you're sincerely, you reach out to the teachers and, really want to do your best. The teacher will want to write a good recommendation and knowing what are you doing too, right? So the more they learn about you, the more understand about what are you trying to do, they will help you. I always share with the students, if you want it so bad, the whole world will help you, and that's what happened. You pull your best of the sincere, your best of you, and then the rest of people, they will want to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish, right? Okay, Serena, you want to wrap up the last question? I know some people need to go to sleep.
Yeah, thank you. If you need to go, more than welcome to go, but I kind of want to speak for myself and a lot of the students on here, since I know we have a couple on here. But personally, I had a really hard time finding my interest and what kind of path I want to take. But Jonathan, obviously from the start, you love Legos, you love competition, and you love all of these things. Like, your path like right away. How would you give advice or advise students who are more like me, who are trying to search out, their paths, their career interests? Do you have any tips on finding their like a specific field or like a general field where they can explore, who they are as a person? Because like what you said, I love how you said essays are basically a way of showing your story. And colleges are trying to look for stories that match your own or they're similar to their own. So how can students, build up their interest in a way that they can grow personally, but also allow the colleges to see that, hey, this is the kind of student that we want in our school? I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does. Okay, I'll separate your question into
Yeah.
2 words. The first part is finding something that fits you.
Yeah.
I think there's no shortcut for that. One thing I mentioned in my presentation was being open to deviations, being open to interruptions, as they say, right? And that was how I discovered my passion for entrepreneurship. That was how I discovered economics. And how I discovered speech and debate. So stay open to different ideas and just try everything, I guess. Well, not try everything because no one would have time for that, but be open. Yeah. So to the second part of your question, how you display your interest for colleges to see. That, I think, is something that requires more long-term planning per se, because, well, one thing I mentioned was having a story. So, and I believe that however diverse your hobbies may be, there is a story you can tell. There is a connection that you can make. But where this becomes a more long-term thing is when you need to do something to materialize the connection. You can't just, if you just say that there is a connection, everyone can say there's a connection, but you need to do something about it, right? So let's say, you like service, you like music, then you can make a connection, but to materialize the connection requires more time, where maybe you have a charity concert, or you perform and do some kind of fundraising, or do some kind of thing. It can be anything, and the more unique the better. But the thing is that you need more, I guess, more time to plan, to look at yourself in general, and then to execute that. That's it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan. Again, like to echo what Ms. Ting said, you are so wise, and I look up to you even though you're a bit younger than me. So I appreciate your time and for, giving us all these wisdom that you have. And I look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I still have a lot to learn.
We all do.
All right, awesome. Well, I think we conclude today, our the sharing today, my journey to Stanford by Jonathan Shi, and definitely I'm so proud of you, Jonathan. And
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to see you in person on September. Welcome you to US, right? I mean, I know you US man, you are here hanging out, right? But
yeah.
And your journey is going to be incredible, bright, and I can definitely see you're going to be an incredible entrepreneur, and with the social, the give back to the society. So we count on you too. All right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all coming up. I know I actually have personal my friend, like Miss Julie Tan is on too, right? She's actually our mentor for our Chinese businesswoman. She's a president. Yeah, she actually get out to listen to you. I don't know, did she have some comments or something? But I think it's a great thing. It's all connected, like you say, connect the dots in the end of the day. All right. Okay, so all right, and for all the students, let's have a great summer. You know, you really win. You don't want to win only, you want to win. You want to compete yourself and don't compare with others. And we all can do better than yesterday, right? Okay, so have a great night or have a good morning. Happy Sunday, happy Father's Day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again, Jonathan.
Great. Thank you,
Appreciate
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.